Ryan Puglisi is ready to teach everyone the playbook. That's what he told the Players Lounge over there at Aaron Murray and Company. Matt DeBerry, Ryan Puglisi, you've covered him for some time with recruiting and so forth. Everybody's favorite quarterback is the backup, and right now Ryan Puglisi is that person. When he says stuff like this, what does that mean to you? I want to be so confident in the playbook I could teach it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. This is a guy that Todd Monken loved. Quick story: he went and saw Ryan Puglisi throw in like a cold, rainy February day, and then invited him back to throw for the staff, and basically told him, "Hey, you come down, throw again in Athens in front of Kirby. Good things are probably going to happen." I told everyone on Dog Post that he was going to come down and throw at Alabama, at Georgia. He got both of those offers, and it was a big one. But the staff, even Todd Monken and Mike Bobo, who was still around, they love this kid, and there's a reason why. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's a good athlete. He's big. He's got a laser, Ryan, and he's a hard worker. And I was able to talk to him briefly during media days at the Sugar Bowl, and he just lit up talking about Mike Bobo and the respect he has for him and Gunnar Stockton. The guy says all the right things. He's a hard worker, and he's making people quickly forget about Dylan Raiola in that class. And this is he's a competitor. He had no problem, coming in with Dylan Raiola. He wanted to be the quarterback at Georgia, and he still wants to be that.
I want you to tell that story real quick, Matt, because Dylan Raiola, 5-star quarterback from Buford, he cost me a lot of money because I ran around watching the guy play in Charlotte and like all over Georgia. But it came down to it in December, and the whole time Puglisi was like, "No, I'm going to Georgia. It's just what it is." And then right at the end, Dylan Raiola decides he wants to go to Nebraska, which all power to him. If you want to go to Nebraska for any reason, God bless you. But I mean the state. So. But Puglisi, just like I'm trying to remember the timeline, man. I feel like he was a early summer or late spring.
I think he was October.
Oh, so, Puglisi was later. Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. But he knew the whole time that right. Georgia's plans to take 2 quarterbacks in that class, and he knew Georgia was after the top dog, right? That was Dylan Raiola, a guy that they had been pushing for, since he was a freshman. So he knew all that. He didn't care. Again, the guy's a competitor, and he thinks he's better. And he's going to push. He's going to make Gunnar Stockton earn that starting job. But the fact that he's coming out and saying, "Hey, he's got the tools. He can make plays with his feet. He's got the arm." But the fact that he's out there saying, "I want to memorize this playbook, do everything I can," because as we've seen, the quarterback's one hit away from having the next guy come in, and that next guy better be ready.
Well, I've got your attention. Check out the link down below from our good friends at BetMGM. Use the promo code MEGABET, MEGABET, to get a chance of up to $1,500 on bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. The link is right down below. You can bet on any number of things. Futures for the NFL, futures for college football. They got baseball betting, all sorts of things that you can have fun with. Let's be responsible about it. Don't miss out on this. It's a really cool thing. Again, from our buddies over at BetMGM, use the promo code MEGABET, MEGABET. Get a chance for up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Check it out. Links right down below.
Yeah, in a very reactionary way, when Dylan Raiola flipped, everyone immediately turned to Ryan Puglisi, and he was a social media star there for 24 hours. The fan base was all about it. They said, "We already got our guy, and he wants to be a Georgia Bulldog." And that does go with the theme with Kirby. They'll vet these kids out. They'll filter them out, and they'll push kids away if they don't feel like they want to be a part of something bigger, which is what Kirby would advertise it as. But I think we talked about, I don't know if we talked about it, maybe just in the group chat, but the Jacob Eason story recently, where he came out and talked about how it was basically a quarterback competition, even though he was the starting quarterback in 2016, heading into that 2017 season. Gunnar I don't know what his command on the job is right now. He definitely has a head start. Yeah. Being in the program a little bit longer, being the one that started against Notre Dame, being the QB2 last season. But I think that Georgia would be doing itself a disservice to not at least have a competition. And I think that whether it's a very well-known competition, it's going to be a little bit of that behind the scenes. And I'd be surprised if Puglisi doesn't get QB1 snaps, at least a few reps. I'm sure Gunnar Stockton would get more, but to me, it would be surprising if this is just Gunnar Stockton's job and there's not some sort of competition going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm not trying to run Gunnar down by any stretch. But, We've seen this too often. I mean, the starting quarterback, the guy that started the season in 2016 did not finish the season as a starter. The guy that started in 17 did not finish as a starter. The guy in 20, the guy in 21, I mean, the guy in 24. Multiple times, Matt DeBerry, you've seen Georgia go through quarterbacks, plural, and whoever that person is, Gunner was ready for his moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if and when Ryan Puglisi gets his moment, but he's got an opportunity this spring to push Gunner Stockton and make it to where it's not so obvious that Gunner is the guy. Now, whether that will, the problem is when you talk to people behind the scenes, you never really know what in the world if they know what they're talking about or not. I don't know. I want to see these guys play quarterback. And, one thing I'll throw it to you right now, Matt. We do know now that Georgia will have a spring game. Josh Brooks, Georgia's athletic director, said that. We just don't know when it will be. But I want to see them play. I mean, I don't see that there's nothing that Gunner Stockton did that's like, there's no way someone else can start. But that doesn't mean that someone else will start. That's all.
I'm trying to remember, and maybe y'all can, do a better job of remembering how it went down. But how long did it take Kirby Smart to say Carson Beck is our starter for the 2024 season? He was the starter all through 23 and had a really good year.
August.
But yeah, it took a while for him to be like, yeah, Carson is our starter.
Well, he go ahead.
Right. I might be wrong, but I'm trying to remember it because Kirby always says, and y'all know this, whoever practices better, right? At every position, whoever practices.
Yeah, that sounds good, but listen, man, with the exception of the time they went to, with the exception of the 2020 season, Matt, basically quarterback changes at Georgia have been a result of an injury. 2016 notwithstanding, I guess, with Jacob, but
Is this year different though? If Ryan comes out and slings it out and has a great spring and it is practicing better, this might be one of those years where
it could be.
It could be different. But I still think Gunner's the guy. But I do agree with you. Ryan Puglisi is going to make him earn that starting job because the kid can play.
Yeah, in the 2023 offseason, it was Carson and Brock Vandagriff split in first team reps. And I think they let Gunner have a little bit of that too. It was mostly QB2 and QB3 reps in the spring, but he didn't come out and say Carson Beck is the starter until fall camp. And he didn't tell Carson that either. There wasn't something that Carson had known throughout the entire offseason. We kind of assumed what the situation was. And this feels similar to that 2 years ago, but there's more chatter this time about it. Is it going to be Ryan Puglisi? Does that tell you people are not as confident about Gunner as they were a couple years ago?
They couldn't have been more confident in Gunner Stockton before the Sugar Bowl. And it's just like, hey, y'all, listen, it can't be everything. It can't be that, like that's why I don't trust stuff so much, because everyone's so reactionary, Ryan.
Yeah, well, I mean, and like you said at the beginning, everyone's favorite quarterback is the backup. If things aren't going exactly the way people want, they want to assign blame and they want to turn to that. I think that it's a competition behind the scenes. I don't know if it's quite like 23. We were really confident, at least this group, that Carson Beck was going to be the quarterback in 2023. He'd been around longer. He was more polished than any of the other guys. He's a little bit older, and it made sense. With Gunner, he hasn't commanded that level of confidence from the fan base and quite frankly us. It's not that we don't think he could be a very good quarterback. We've just seen a little bit less. And what we saw was kind of up and down. We saw them not go to his arm too much against Texas, and when he did, it was a little shaky. And then we saw another piss poor offensive performance against Notre Dame, and this time he happened to be the quarterback. That was a theme throughout the season. It happened a couple of other times, so you can't just point fingers at Gunner, but there's not as much confidence in him as there was in Carson Beck a couple of years ago, heading into it when there was an open quarterback competition and it wasn't just a returning starter. So I think people are excited about Puglisi, the cannon. He's a bigger quarterback. Gunner is not the prototypical guy that succeeds on the next level, although there's plenty of college quarterbacks that have been smaller, like Stetson, that have succeeded. But I'm just getting a sense of questioning from the fan base more so this offseason than the last few when it comes to the quarterback.
Matt, do you think Kirby has earned the trust of people as it relates to the quarterback spot? Because It's not a trick. It's not a trick question. I mean, when you think about, I mean, Stetson Bennett was in this program in 2019. In 2017, Davin Bellamy wouldn't stop talking about him.
As someone who covers recruiting, the quarterback dads are on a different level, and
No
so they
question. Quarterback parents, they are elite.
So if their kid's not playing, they do hate the coach, and they don't believe in the coach because their kid's better than the kid in front of them. And I know that's been that way for several quarterbacks that have gone through. But it's a weird dynamic in a relationship between a head coach whose job it is to start the guy who he thinks is going to be the guy, compared to maybe the 5-star incoming freshman who has never sat on the bench in his whole life, and whose dad maybe had to play some politics to get him to all these places, right? So, and I don't want to say too much, but yeah, I don't think it's always a great relationship between Kirby and the quarterback's dad, whether it's the starter, the backup, or the third string.
Yeah, it can be tricky, and
more than tricky. Yeah.
Yeah, tricky is probably one way to put it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's Kirby's literal responsibility to put the best players out there to win games. It's up to him to do it. I mean, and this isn't me. I'm not like questioning him. I'll be fine to question him. I'm just not in this scenario. It's his responsibility. He went there. He played there, and it's his responsibility. And the other thing is too, and I'll stop talking after this. Mike Bobo is the straight up lightning rod of anything negative in Georgia world, and if Kirby Smart felt like someone was better than Mike to take that job, my opinion is he would put that person in there. But it's the same thing with the quarterback. My opinion is that whoever the best quarterback is going to be out there. I mean, we had so many practices in college, man. It was just, you practice 6 days a week. People know. They know. And so whoever the starter is, there's a reason that they're out there. There was a reason why it was Gunner. But just to get back to Puglisi, I want to be so confident in the playbook I could teach it. I want to see the guy play quarterback. We've still not seen that. I'm very curious about that. Thanks for watching.